So, yesterday, in our exploration of Catholic theology, we were looking at the dogma that God our Creator and Lord can be known with certainty by the natural light of reason from created things. There was some good patristic and scriptural proofs of this. Hey, Trudeau, welcome in. And also the innate idea of God, specifically that what is innate is not the idea of God as such, but the ability easily and to a certain extent spontaneously to know the existence of God from his works. The comment that I had made about that one can, by means of philosophy, by means of reason alone, contemplate reality in such a way that only with great difficulty and over a length of time come to know the truths of the Christian faith. I want to qualify that because certainly what we read in this lesson is a little more specific, and that is relating to the existence of God specifically. That's what I was talking about. But there are many truths of the Christian faith, though, that may, even in our fallen state, be still remain a challenge to us with great difficulty. Obviously, the gift of revelation, of the gift of faith, illuminates our intellect, raises the intellect, allows us to reason more clearly concerning the content of the faith. But apparently, even apart from grace, in our fallen state, the existence of God can be known, and apparently with a certain amount of ease. It's just fascinating. So perhaps what I should qualify here is other aspects of the faith, such as maybe understanding. Well, the thing is, there are many things that might not make much sense unless you believe in the incarnation or the Trinity. If you don't believe in the Trinity, you don't believe in an incarnation. You don't believe in an incarnation, you cannot reason properly concerning the atonement and how that atonement is therefore applied in and through the church. And so now we're talking about sacraments and ecclesiology and all of the rest. A great deal can be known by faith alone, such as the Trinity and the Incarnation, but that theology so permeates all of Catholic theology that I think it is fair to say that that there is still a great difficulty in these things if we consider them by means of reason alone. Today's short lesson concerns the statement, the existence of God can be proved by means of causality. So the traditionalists have been reproved by the teaching authority of the Church, cite the assertion that reason can with certainty prove the existence of God. Pope Pius X extended the Vatican definition of the natural knowability of God in the anti-modernist oath in 1910, which used to be required of all the priests who were being ordained, which it no longer is, but maybe we should bring that back, by the more exact statement that the existence of God can formally be proved through reason by means of the principle of causality. Now, once again, reasoning from created things, particularly reasoning concerning the principle of, in terms of causality, normally we are talking about the actuality of potential. All right. And usually looking at the fact that contingent things require something else to bring themselves, to bring it into existence. And so you see a movement from something potentially existing, okay, not, yeah, you can't speak of potentiality in terms of something adhering to the thing that could possibly exist as an attribute, because obviously there's nothing in which to adhere. But the potential perhaps lies logically, okay, in things that could exist, but positively in the things that can bring that about. Because even the thing that's causing the thing to become actual must also move from potentiality to actuality in terms of doing the thing to bring about the actualization of a possible potential. All right, possible potential. So that's normally what we're thinking about when we look at the principle of causality. God, the beginning and the end of all things, can be known with certainty by the natural light of reason, as a cause is known by its effects. From those things that are made, that is, by the visible works of creation, and can equally be demonstrated. So the possibility of proof of God flows thus. From the dogma of the natural knowability of God, for the proof of God's existence is distinguished from the elementary knowledge of God only in that the basis for the knowledge is proposed in a more scientific form. 2. From the fact that since the time of the Fathers, theologians have adduced proofs of the existence of God. We see this in folks like St. John of Damascus, St. Augustine, and others. Scholasticism, in its greatest exponents, has unshakably adhered to the demonstrability of the existence of God. The scholastic proofs of God found their classical formulation in St. Thomas Aquinas, who was a fellow Dominican. It was only in the era of late scholasticism that influential representatives of nominalism, people like Wilhelm of Ockham, in consequence of their skepticism, began to doubt the certainty of the proofs of God's existence. The nominalists, all right, nominalism, philosophically speaking, is to be distinguished from classical realism, which be the Thomistic, or the classical way of looking at this. In realism, a thing is what it is. Okay, apart from a mind. All right. So a thing is what it is, despite there being no mind around to observe it. So the meaning of the thing is inherent in the thing. Okay. Nominalism. All right. So this has to do with the idea of also of particulars and what's the other term? The universals. All right. This is a question of particulars and universals. The idea of universals is that a thing shares a nature with another thing because of what it inherently is, without a mind around to say it, to see it, as opposed to a multiplicity of particulars that have no grounding apart from a mind that is categorizing it. Hence, nominalism. All right, name, So the mind then is applying categories to a plethora of particulars, and they're only connection to each other exists within the mind and the categories that are being applied to the things. All right. Many were influenced by nominalism. Luther was influenced by nominalism, and no doubt had also an impact on the Renaissance and the challenge, the division between faith and reason, right? Which unfortunately has come to erode Western thought, and so then we end up with the so-called modern philosopher, Western philosophers. Hey, welcome in, Alex. So that's what he's talking about in terms of the nominalists were raising doubt or skepticism concerning the proofs of God's existence that were put forth within the context of realism by Thomas Aquinas and his Summa Theologica. These proofs are based on the absolute validity of the principle of causality, which St. Thomas formulates thus: transition from potence to act. So I mentioned that earlier when we were looking at the principle of causality. What we're talking about is moving from potentiality to actuality. Okay. Now, while Kant, he's talking about Immanuel Kant and other modern philosophers, under the influence of David Hume, limited the validity of this to the world of experience. St. Thomas establishes its transcendental validity, which far surpasses the world of experience, by reference to the self-evident principle of contradiction. Which makes sense because it's by experience, perhaps he's referring more to subjectivity, but when we're looking at logic, and particularly with the self-evident principle of contradiction, that a thing cannot both be what it is and what it isn't at the exact same time. Right? It's the law of non-contradiction. And so from those rational principles, then we can see the principle of causality, and by this reason to the existence of a necessary being, which we have come to the end of our short lesson for this evening, and we'll pick that up next time we get together. All right. That one was a little deep, but fruitful. All right. So, since it's about 10, I'm going to switch over now and play some Hearthstone. I'm going to do that for about 2 hours or so, an hour and a half. We'll see how I'm doing then, right? From Brazil. Hey, Alex, welcome in. Yeah. Always happy to meet a fellow Catholic. Is that how you found me with the Catholic tag? I try to use a variety of tags now that we can just customize our own. Kind of make it a little bit easier for folk who might be looking for certain types of content to find it. As a lay Dominican, I already do these prayers and lessons and readings and things on my own, so I decided, hey, it would be really cool to do that with some other people as well. So